Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Data Science Fellowship Cohort 9 Demo Day Showcase. Can you believe it? This is the 10th cohort, which means there have been 9 sets of amazing teams that have undergone this unique fellowship on the power of data science. My name is Val Bastille from the Association of Young Environmental Journalists, or AEDGE, and I will be your host and moderator for tonight. It's a Friday night, TGIF po tayong lahat. But before we head on over to our Friday night gigs, this is an amazing way to spend our Friday night with you. Before we start our event, I'd like to call on Chel Esmasin, Project Director for Boot Camps, to say a few words. Chel? Chel, are you around? It's certainly Friday the 13th, but nothing unlucky, hopefully, for
Hello,
tonight.
Val.
Yes, Chel,
Hi, good evening.
go
Thank you
ahead.
so much, Val, for that introduction. Good evening, everyone. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our distinguished panel of judges who will bring so much value to the learning of our students when they provide their feedback to their outputs later on. To our learners who did all the hard work, and to all our guests, welcome to our Data Science Demo Day. Tonight, we will witness the presentations of 5 meaningful and transformative data science projects of our Data Science Fellowship Cohort 10. The demo day is the culmination of our 15-week program, and the projects tonight will showcase topics from Metro Manila traffic, local skincare, data science jobs, and more. So these projects are all diverse, and it is as if we are in a spectrum. So I'm really excited how this night will go. And upon seeing these topics, we can realize that data science can be really applied almost everywhere. So let us get this started and let us reimagine the future with data. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chel, for that warm introduction. I love it when you mentioned about spectrum, because here in our data science showcase of cohorts, we have different topics, and I've seen it from the many demo days I've hosted as well, and I've learned from it so much. And it's really an end-to-end kind of showcase of how we can use data to reimagine the future. Yeah, thank you for reminding us that the work we do is very current and timely and relevant to what we need today. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Data Science Fellowship is a 15-week-long boot camp that is divided into 4 sprints that are 2 weeks long, a 1 week mid-boot camp break, followed by the final 6 weeks of the program dedicated to creating the fellows' what we call capstone project. The fellows learn to use tools such as GitHub, Matplotlib, Pandas, SQL, Scikit-learn, and Streamlit. And tonight, we are here to celebrate and witness the hard work of our fellows as they present to you their capstone projects in this Demo Day showcase. Tonight's event will feature 5 projects created by our Cohort 10 fellows. The first half of our Demo Day showcase will feature 3 capstone projects. One will look into traffic forecasting and route planning. Another will be doing a risk forecast of the projected precipitation in Manila. And our third group will be looking into archetypes of data professionals. That's very interesting. And I'm looking forward to this set. After the first half, we will have a short intermission to take a quick break and, recharge a little bit before we dive into our last 2 capstone projects for the evening. Our final 2 groups will focus on improving Philippine skincare products and increasing local brand awareness. Ooh, I want to listen in on this. While our final group will look into helping hotel owners improve their services. As I said, this is a spectrum. So much coverage, so many issues, so many topics, and we are all covering that for tonight. Also, the Escuelabs team has a special discount promo for all Cohort 11 applicants. So if you want to avail of this promo, stick around until the end so you can get that promo code. So are you all ready for our presentations and capstone projects for tonight? Can I get a heart reaction? Can I get a heart reaction over there at Zoom? Yeah, I see some hearts right there. Yeah, I want to see that your heart is in this and that you're ready for this and you're ready to enjoy your Friday night with us. All right. The energy, I can feel it from miles away, even if I'm here in Cagayan de Oro right now. Thank you so much. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you our guest panel for this evening. We begin with Ben Manangu. He is a Senior Transportation Development Officer at the Road Transport Planning Division of the Department of Transportation, but he's currently on study leave while taking his master's degree at the University of Seoul. Himself an alumnus of the Data Science Fellowship, Ben is into intelligent transport systems, the Star Wars prequels, smart cities, superheroes, mental health, puzzles, and RPGs. He's currently looking into ways to bring the power of data to bear in improving the country's transportation system. Ben, hello. Thanks for being here tonight. Up next, we have Raymart Mendoza. He's a data scientist with a broad range of skills, including experience working for the Tourism Promotions Board, Philippines. He is currently taking up data analytics at Bow Valley College in Canada. Mark has been able to assist businesses in the travel sector by using market research and promotion initiatives. In addition to this, he has knowledge of the data science process and has become skilled at leveraging data tools, statistical approaches, and machine learning techniques to produce insights that influence business choices. His knowledge of data analytics and data science has only grown as a result of his present studies. Our third panelist is John Anthony Inchong. He began his career with Procter & Gamble, gaining unparalleled experience in the data and analytics space, while also establishing himself as a respected project manager. Currently working as a finance data and analytics manager for Procter & Gamble, John is widely known for his purchasing and financial solution technical expertise and business acumen. With a bachelor's degree in electronics engineering from Jose Rizal University, John further strives to grow as a graduate student in the University of Santo Tomas, taking up master's in management engineering. He's a certified professional Scrum product owner, which he applies in delivering D&A products in the consumer goods space. And finally, we have Albert Bash Yumol, a senior data scientist based in the Netherlands, working on financial modeling and credit analytics aided by artificial intelligence and DevOps. Together with communities, he organizes platforms for enthusiasts to learn human-centered tech skills. As such, he works as Esquelab's senior data science consultant and maintain an active platform on LinkedIn, engaging more than, listen to this, 20,000 followers. He's an activist who fights for the use of technology to promote social development and nationalism by utilizing collective wisdom and inclusive participation. Our topics are as diverse as our lineup of judges here this evening, and we've made sure that they were all tailor fit to our capstone topics that our fellows worked on. So we are excited to learn more from our panelists and hear their insights from our capstone projects. Also, you all in the Zoom room right now, you will have a chance to ask our fellows some of your questions. Even though our fellows will be having a panel of judges during their Q&A, you all have a very important part of this experience, and we would like to encourage you and invite you to send in your own questions for the fellows through the Dory link shared in the screen and set in the Zoom chat box over there. After our fellows present and have their Q&A with our judges, they will have a chance to answer your questions in the Dory. So, bawal po maging shy. Don't be shy and send in your questions as we go through the presentations. And with that, I'd like to introduce to you our first group of fellows for this evening. I think our audiences are ready. Our fellows are ready. Our panelists are ready. I am also ready and excited to hear the presentations of each of the 5 capstone groups that we have for this evening. And I am honored to introduce our first guest for tonight. Please welcome Lee Chavez, Jamil Alawi, John Nuki, Bianca Gilay Erickson Tulda to present data-driven insights for local government traffic management. You can check out their capstone project through the link shared in the chat. And I think we are ready.
Good evening. We're Group 2 here to present our capstone project entitled Are We There Yet? Data Driven Insights for Local Government Traffic Management. Aside from losing our minds, our temper, and whatever it is that makes us good people, what else do we really lose whenever we're stuck at traffic? And the answer is 4.3 billion pesos per day. As a nation, 4.3 billion pesos per day is the total amount of economic losses incurred by Metro Manila's traffic. These losses can be in the form of inefficiency costs, like not enough goods are being sold due to transport delays, or it can be in the form of transport costs, like how your gas tank continues to dries up while you're in a standstill in EDSA. Either way, 4.3 billion pesos per day has better things to do than being stuck at traffic. But what if solving traffic is part of your job? Let's say that you work for an LGU and you're part of the team in charge of city traffic management. How would you go around solving this decades old problem? Our goal is to help you by building a dashboard that shows the projected hour per hour traffic in all of the streets in our area. A dashboard like the ones in front of a driver's steering wheel gives the user an overview of how well he or she is doing while driving. Depending on the goals of the driver, say to consume gas or move faster, these dashboards serves as both as a guide and a source of feedback that help the driver achieve his or her goals. To be clear, similar to how a car's dashboard alone is not enough to make one a good driver, our traffic dashboard by itself will not be able to immediately ease traffic nationwide. What it can do is to help LGUs be better drivers of change. This is done by making it easy to monitor progress and receive feedback, as well as by making the most pressing problems easier to identify.
So what is a dashboard? A dashboard is a way of displaying various types of data, visual data in one place. Usually, a dashboard is intended to convey different but related information in an easy-to-digest form, and here is an overview of how our dashboard looks like. A user needs to input the route, the date, and the time to show a projection of the traffic levels of the chosen route. From that, an individual can plan accordingly for his future travel. But for the LGUs who are going to use our tool, they can get a lot of insights from the generated graphs that will greatly help them in planning their city's road networks, transportation routes, and so on. And here's a prototype of our dashboard, currently deployed in Streamlit. From here, the user can have an overview of his whole journey with charts, network graphs, and even insights. Now, let's dive deeper into the development and the process our data has undergone to build our model and ultimately our dashboard. Due to Google Maps API's data limit, this project only focused on 3 of the most commonly used routes in Pasig City, and the data we collected only covered a 4-week period from December 5, 2022 to January 1, 2023. And another limitation of the API was that historical data cannot be collected. And so at the time of our data collection, we used future dates. Now that we have our data, let's look at the things we discovered in our exploratory data analysis.
So for our EDA, we first investigated the speed per week for each route, and we can see here, next slide please. We can see here that there isn't much of a difference in terms of average speed per week. But looking at the speed in weekdays compared to weekends for each route, we found that the speed for weekdays, morning and afternoon, are much lower than weekend. And weekday evening is just a bit slower than weekend evening. And moreover, we also found that the traffic usually happens every Friday for Pasig Palengke to LRT Santolan and Pasig City Hall to Kenneth, and Tuesday for Pasig City Hall to Ligaya. On the other hand, Sunday gained the fastest speeds for all routes. Next slide, please. Um, so for all routes, they are experiencing traffic during rush hour, especially at 6 p.m. Okay. So now let's move on to how we build our clustering model.
For our ML model, data was manipulated and transformed by adding new columns, segments, and speed, for example. Time of day and days of the week were categorized. We made sure that rows with NaN values were removed before reshaping the data with average speed values with respect to the categorizations created beforehand. We then select a few features to be used. Distance, which is the segment length, and still categorizing the data with average speed, whether speed is normal or traffic for each specific day group in a defined time frame. Pre-processing the data doesn't end with that. We then check for outliers in our data by creating plots for every features that our model has. And arguably, outliers are present in our data, and it was dealt with by using robust scalar. At this point, we aim to use k-means clustering. We then proceed to the next step, which is choosing the optimal k value. We also try different measures, such as the elbow method and Kilinsky-Harabas score, which gave us 4 as the optimal k value. And here's the result of our profiling using the distance, group of day, specific time of day, and categorized whether speed is normal or traffic, as well as the profiling results using segment length as distance. Cluster profiles were categorized this way. Cluster A fast with normal speed of 9.6 meter per second during day and nighttime with traffic speed of 10.6 meter per second during daytime and 9.1 meter per second during nighttime with an average distance of 198 meters. Cluster B average with normal speed of 6.7 meter per second during day and nighttime with traffic speed of 7.3 meter per second during daytime and 6.5 meter per second during nighttime, with an average distance of 148 meters. Cluster C slow with normal speed of 4.8 meters per second during day and nighttime, with traffic speed of 5 meter per second during daytime, 4.7 meter per second during nighttime, with an average distance of 108 meters. Lastly, cluster D very slow with normal speed of 3 meter per second during day and nighttime, with traffic speed of same 3 meter per second during day and nighttime, with an average distance of 138 meters. For the results, I'll be handing you over to Jimmy.
And now, let's apply the cluster labels into our original data and analyze further each route. In the pathway Pasig Palenque to LRT Santolan, we can see that the congested roads are in the middle and the southern part of the route, and the northernmost part is where the traffic is relaxed. Majority of the segments in Route 0 belong in Cluster B are the traffic segment identified with average speed. This route has the most efficient network of segments among the 3 studied routes as it has the lowest number of segments under Cluster D. For Pasig City Hall to Kenneth, it has no blue lines, which means that its segments could be congested. So let's take a look at the distribution. And there we go. Route 1 segments are predominantly congested with slow to very slow traffic. And in terms of distance, 57% of the commuter's journey will travel on roads with very slow traffic. Lastly, for Route 2, it was identified that its middle part is where the traffic is at easiest as indicated by these blue segments. But the rest of it mostly under the cluster C and D as shown by the yellow and red lines. And same as the previous route, most roads in Route 2 are in the categories of slow to very slow clusters. At this point, we have established what we can get from the dashboard. So now, what can we do with it? Some of our recommended applications include: first is for forecasting traffic for future travels. Users of the dashboard can plan wisely their future travels, such as which roads to take and which ones not to take, with the help of our clustering model. In addition, with the travel duration feature of the Google Distance Matrix API, the users can determine the estimated travel time days from now, weeks from now, or even months from now. And with that, they can plan accordingly and avoid inconveniences due to traffic such as transport delays and late arrival in important meetings. Another use, especially for LGU's traffic management units, Users can create new routes for their shuttle services or free bus rides for their constituents. From the network graphs, they can even identify which of the pathways they are currently using are inefficient, and they can reroute accordingly by avoiding the segments in red. As mentioned earlier, our dashboard is just a prototype and a proof of concept, and admittedly, it needs improvements. And to address the gaps identified, the LGU or any other organizations interested with our study can provide financing of the API to increase the data capacity and add more segments in the data. Secondly, they can innovate this idea and include historical data to incorporate reinforcement learning, which may optimize the model. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Team Traffic. Alam mo, usaping traffic hits different, and I'm glad that they touched on that. Most of us, if not all of us, are affected by traffic, and it affects, our livelihoods, our way of living. So very important that we touch on that, and I think that was an incredible project. For our audience, please feel free to head on over to the Dory link sent in the chat to send in your questions for the group. For now, I will be opening the floor to our panel of judges for their questions, starting with our main panelist for Team Traffic, Ben Manangu, for his first 2 questions, followed by Bash Yumol. Ben?
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the great presentation. I'm always happy to see, data scientists tackle transportation problems, as a specific interest of mine. So I guess I just had a few questions. Like, for a first question, your presentation did mention that you attempted to create network graphs for route planning, but you don't really cover it too much in the presentation itself. Can I ask what happened to this?
Okay, I'll try to answer that. Hi. With regards to the network graph, we actually were able to produce several network graphs. Actually, it's such a shame we weren't able to include one of our best database for this because okay, just a quick recap of the project in itself. It's a study on the traffic within the top 3 major roads in Pasig during second week of December up until the first week of January. We were actually able to produce network graphs, an hour per hour network graphs in the form of a GIF that shows the color coded hour per hour traffic from I believe team, just correct me if I'm wrong. The data period here was 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So 6 a.m. 10 p.m. of December December 5 up until January 2. So that's a month-long data. I believe it is in our Streamlit. We'll try to find the link for it so we can share it with all of the audience. But yeah, we were able to produce that database. Sorry, we weren't able to include it in the end.
Okay, yeah, because that was honestly the most that would have been the most interesting part of the as a transport planner myself. I'm actually looking into a similar application right now for my master's thesis. But anyway, so I guess my question for the other part of your the other ML component you did, which is your clustering. So since you mentioned your target, your kind of your target audience for the project is an LGU, how do you envision the clustering analysis you did, like helping a transportation office, like for example Pasig Transport, the one you used in the presentation? Yes, so because I noticed most of the insights you talked about are already easily observable, because we all know like traffic congestion is high in rush hours. It's great to drive on weekends. These are things we already know, conventional wisdom already. So what's the value add of your analysis for specifically for LGs?
Okay, I think I can answer that for now. I think the first fresh idea here in our project is that we use future dates because currently, if you are using Google Maps or Move It or Grab PH, you cannot forecast traffic there for future travels. So, but here in our project, you can plan your travel even months from now, based on our data collected. And I think the other value that the LGU can get from our project is to identify which part of their route is inefficient based on our clustering models, because here in our model we use we identified four labels from fast traffic to very slow traffic. And if they identify red lines in their network graphs, which means these roads are the identified with very slow traffic, then maybe we can reroute accordingly. Maybe the other members can add.
Sure. I'll piggyback on what Jamil has said. Okay. But in order for me to be able to explain it better, I believe Eric, you're the one who has the capacity to screen share. Would you mind
Yeah.
going to slide 25 of our PowerPoint? Actually, no. Slide 23, actually. Slide 23. The
Okay.
one that showed Route 0 color coded based on the clusters. Great. Okay. So, if I got the question correctly, what's the use of our project for LGUs? Simply put this, as you can see on the network graph on the left, this is a single road, but each each segment point to point, each line basically is color coded, and as described by I think it was Eric or Jamil earlier, that blue is the fastest, green is good, yellow and red not so good. What we actually did here is identifying bottlenecks. We identify here on this is generalized, by the way, for the whole month. This is not for a specific time period. This is across weekend, weekday, each hour from December to January. So consistently, these points, as you can see in yellow and more importantly in red, are the bottlenecks that local government units need to focus on in order to study further on what can be done in order to redirect certain traffic routes or people in order to loosen up these bottlenecks. As you can see here, if you look closer, I apologize that the lines are small, but as you can see, these bottlenecks, most of them, there are not much alternatives, but those on the south end, on the lower end, those are that are identified as bottlenecks. They are quite close to locations wherein they are adjacent to either yellow or green, meaning there you go. Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate. Meaning there are alternatives that need to be done here. I believe one limitation and a possibility for improvement in our study is further checking on why is this the case. It's possible that the southernmost end of this route here is actually a one-way. So even though it's adjacent to the green one, routes are not being routed to the other lane because it's one way. That's a possibility. Or maybe that there really are very popular stores there. These are things that we've actually checked on using OSMNX. We're able to identify the structures, but we paused that exploration area for now so we can focus on completing this project. But these are things that local government units can further study on in order to help them make data-driven decisions that would eventually lead to lesser traffic.
Okay. Thank you. I guess as just one more note from me is the analysis you're proposing will is not useful on its own, on a route per route basis. So I do echo your recommendation on, adding more segments because what you do when you are rerouting, especially for public transport, you're just shifting the congestion elsewhere. It's not like it disappears when you start to create routes. So really, what's important is restudying the network effect. Anyway, yeah. Bash, you have anything to say?
Hey guys, how are you? a good job on trying to tackle a very complex problem. So my question is really simple. What's the most important feature that correlates to your clusters?
It's the speed feature.
Right, because I saw the speed mostly defines the speed route, right? I'm not entirely sure how it is calculated, but do keep in mind that these types of problems are complex problems. So I know that you're limited with your data, right? So you only have like the speed data, but sometimes when you think of traffic in reality, when it rains, you expect heavy traffic, right? So there's a lot of external factors that determines complex problems like traffic. So technically, if you read technical journals and papers regarding traffic, they consider traffic as a chaotic system. So a chaotic system is a system that is very sensitive to initial conditions, and very small perturbations to that system causes butterfly effects, right? So I think again, kudos to the work that you've done, but also consider more technical aspect like the complex network effect that Ben was mentioning about. You can try to look at algorithms like transfer entropy, mutual information, and correlation coefficient. So what those algorithms help you to do is to really like help you quantify those complex networks effects. Like for example, if I look at Katipunan, if I see that in Katipunan, it's traffic in Katipunan, there is like 87% likelihood that it's also traffic in Ayala. So those kinds of things can really like help you understand why those like bottlenecks are bottlenecks to begin with a more comprehensive approach, like not only looking at the speed routes, but also like integrating other external factors and such and such. But overall, good job, guys. That's it.
Thank you, Bash. And thank you so much, Ben, Lee, Jamil, Eric. Thank you so much. And to the rest of the traffic team, Team Traffic, brilliant job. And I can't wait to see what you can do moving forward from here. Now, I would like to introduce our second group of fellows with their project Risk Forecast from Projected Precipitation in Manila in 2023. But before that, we just have a few admin reminders for our friends here on Zoom. Just to repeat, no, meron tayong Zoom glitch happening with the usernames. So, madaming Kerith de Ocampo. Feeling ko isa lang yung Kerith de Ocampo sa ating Zoom room tonight. But if you can, we are requesting our audiences, if you can, please change your usernames or your handles here on Zoom to your real name, right? Kasi there's a Zoom glitch and we want to see your real names. We want to see who's here. Thank you so much, everyone, for your cooperation. Can we do a double check? And we'll check in on that in a while. Thank you so much. Now going back to this second capstone project called Risk Forecast from Projected Precipitation in Manila in 2023. Here's Bien Aculan, Inigo Franco, Keith Yadao, and Rex Fuentes for their presentation.
Welcome to our capstone project presentation titled Risk Forecast from Projected Precipitation in Manila 2023. The Philippines is situated between the West Philippine Sea and the Pacific Ocean and sits at the edge of the Southeast Asia. This geographical position has made the Philippines the gateway of typhoons into Southeast Asia. This assertion is supported by the data that an average of 20 typhoons enter the Philippine area of responsibility per year, more than anywhere else in the world according to Pag-asa and as seen from the map. Due to the geographical position, as well as being along the Pacific Ring of Fire and rising sea levels due to climate change, the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction has designated the Philippines as the fourth most vulnerable country to extreme weather events. This vulnerability is not remedied by the government by comprehensive national disaster risk reduction plan and having limited funding and resources for that purpose. A new bill to establish a cabinet-level agency to handle disaster risk reduction has not been advanced yet. In Metro Manila, the economic center of the Philippines, rains brought by habagat is enough to cause flooding. This is mainly due to lack of flooding infrastructure and bad urban planning. These floodings may cause disruption in economic activity that can be harmful to the national economy. However, the biggest concern and the utmost priority is saving lives. Speaking of economic damages, A large percentage of the working population won't be able to work due to the disruption to infrastructure by the floods. Given these problems, what do we aim to do with our capstone project? First, we want to forecast precipitation amounts in the city of Manila for the year 2023. This will be the basis for helping the LGUs prepare for floods in their area. Second, locate the nearest amenities in the barangay to assist in disaster preparedness. Locations that are included are hospitals, pharmacies, markets, malls, and groceries. Third, assess the economic loss of a barangay when flooding occurs. This will be based on a barangay's working population. For our methodology, we first collected precipitation data, geospatial data, and population data. Then, we did exploratory data analysis. We did precipitation forecasting using seasonal ARIMA and Dijkstra's algorithm for pathfinding nearest amenities. Lastly, we put all this into a dashboard so that all this information is easy to view and access.
We gathered our precipitation data from the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. We were able to get 22 years of precipitation data for the city of Manila. For our geospatial data, we gathered them from the OpenStreetMaps and the Google Maps API. And for our economic and population data, we got the 2015 National Census from Philippine Statistics Authority.
The following charts will show the exploratory data analysis for the historical precipitation data. For the past 22 years, there has been a seasonally high amount of precipitation in Manila every year, indicated by the repeated peaks. If we decompose the data into their trends, seasonal and residual parts, we can see the seasonality in the precipitation in Manila. Precipitation can be classified into three types: light, moderate, and violent. Violent rainfalls are usually associated with typhoons or tropical depressions, while the most common type of precipitation here is light precipitation. If we look at the high incidence of violent rainfalls, it usually happens between July to September, which is roughly the same as the typhoon season defined by Pag-asa, which is in turn from July to October. Now, this graph shows that most of the violent rainfalls happened within a day, but there is still a sizable amount that happened between 2 to 4 days. And if we look at the elevation of the districts in Manila, we can see that Malate, Tondo, and Paco are the least elevated and most vulnerable to flooding. And now we move on to the forecasting part.
To forecast the 2023 precipitation, we used the seasonal ARIMA model with AR1 and MA2 terms for the non-seasonal part of the model, and first order differencing for the seasonal part. Aside from parameter selection, we also used the smallest Akaike information criterion and the corrected Akaike information criterion to select the most appropriate model for our forecasting.
The following graphs will show the exploratory data analysis for the forecasted precipitation data. Similar to previous years, high amounts of predicted precipitation is expected to occur between July to September. This heat map shows the daily forecasted precipitation. We can see that the heaviest rains occur between July and October. Similarly, violent rains are also expected to happen between July to September. However, unlike previous years, most of the violent rainfalls are expected to last for a day, and the expected maximum length of a violent rainfall is 3 days. For our pathfinding algorithm, we use Dijkstra's algorithm, which is used to find the shortest route between 2 points of interest or nodes. It's used to find the nearest amenities from the geographic center of a barangay. Here is a sample of the dashboard. This shows the shortest path to a hospital, mall, and a supermarket. The dashboard will also include a clickable map where it will show essential information like district name and labor economic damage due to flooding. Now for the dashboard showcase. For the dashboard, we showcase the daily precipitation data in a form of a calendar. More violent rains are colored yellow. And as you can see, the violent rains are between July to October. Another thing that we included is the interactive map, where we have clickable pins showing the district name and the total labor economic damage. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we have not deployed another feature, which is locating the nearest essential amenities of a barangay. Given a barangay's central point, we would want to locate the nearest essential amenities such as the nearest hospital or the nearest marketplace or palengke. Finally, for our recommendations. First, since our data is limited to the city of Manila, it will be beneficial to extend this to the whole of Metro Manila, since the places are interconnected with each other and eventually nationwide. Second, either build more evacuation centers or officially designate evacuation centers. We wanted to include evacuation centers for our nearest amenities map, but our data does not have it because the government only designates evacuation centers right before a typhoon enters the territory. Third, regularly update economic and population data for up-to-date economic loss projection. And fourth, the LGU of Manila should consider these low elevated districts as they are prone to floods. Thank you for listening to our capstone project presentation.
Ayun, thank you so much, Team Precipitation, for that presentation. With an average of 20 typhoons barreling through the Philippines every year, I think this is a very relevant capstone project that begs to be explored. Again, for our audience, as mentioned in the chat, please feel free to head on over to the Dory link to send in your inquiries for the group, and we will answer this during the Q&A, or we will reply directly to them after. We'd like to call on the members now, and as well as Ben, to join us again for Team Precipitation's panel segment. Grabe yung tongue twister ng team name nyo, ha? Now it's time for the second round of Q&A for our fellows. Ben, take it away.
All right. Hi, Team Precipitation. Yeah, congrats on also tackling a very relevant, socially relevant problem. I always appreciate seeing that in Escolabs. I guess I'm interested in knowing more about how you calculated economic damage for on a per barangay basis, correct? Could you talk more about that?
Hello. So we used data from Philippine Statistics Authority, what do you call that, like population data. Unfortunately, we only got 2015 data. That was the only data that was available to us, available sa internet. So yun po yung nakuha namin. And then we also got what do you call this? Parang proportions nung some estimates ng working class, tsaka yung kinompute po na and then minimum wage. So using those numbers, we were able to compute a very rough. So that would be very rough kasi we used minimum wage for the computation. So that would be the projected loss, assuming that a whole district would not be able to go to offices due to floods.
I see. Okay. I guess a recommendation for that, you can also there are also resources you can use, like I believe the World Bank published an urban risk assessment framework that's made specifically for in the context of resilience. So it has three pillars: institutional vulnerability, hazard vulnerability, and economic vulnerability. So and I guess another recommendation I would have is if you're doing an analysis per barangay, especially relevant in the city of Manila, you should also consider the locations of informal settlements, because historically, yun nga, pag bumabaha, yung mga informal settlements natin, they are some of the most vulnerable areas. And highlighting that would be of great interest to an LGU that wants to save more lives, to improve urban resilience in general. So no notes other than that. Good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. Bash, comments, insights, questions?
Okay, I'll ask more technical questions, guys. So for your time series data, do you think, no, it's not do you think, is your signal stationary or non-stationary? Because I think one of the requirements of SARIMA is that your signal should be stationary before you can apply it for forecasting purposes. So is your signal on the get-go stationary or non-stationary?
I'm sorry, what signal? Am I right?
Yeah, your data set. So your time series, right? So
Ah.
you have like a value changing through time. So is it stationary or non-stationary?
If if we only look at it through a non-seasonal lens, it's already stationary. But if we also consider whether it was seasonal or not, it is non-stationary. So that's why we also did
transformations, right?
First order referencing for
That's good.
seasonal
The
component.
difference, right? So for the benefit of our audience, right? So stationary signals mean that your signal has constant mean, constant variance. You have constant autocorrelation, so correlation of the signal with itself, and it should have no periodic component, right? So those are the requirements before you have a stationary signal, before you can apply SARIMA. But before that, you need, if it's not stationary, then you need to apply transformations, mathematical transformations, like getting the differences, getting the ratio, even trying logarithms and such and such. But yeah, I think you did some transformations already, but I was also interested on why did you choose the parameters that you have? Like I saw that for the parameters of the model, like the P, Q, S, and D, how did you come up with those initial parameters?
So we actually use an algorithm from the academe using an R package, Auto Arima, which it computes for every iteration, every possible combinations of parameters of possibles Pi and PD and Q, and it selects based on the smallest value of AKA information criteria.
Okay, so you're
So that
minimizing the error.
algorithm
Yeah.
chose those parameters.
And why did you choose R compared to the more typical grid search that we usually use in Python?
Because the one available in R was widely used in statistical circles. So
Okay.
that's why.
Got it. All right. Just a quick recommendation from me for a technical aspect. The best way for you to identify those parameters is actually using autocorrelation functions,
Yes.
partial
yes.
autocorrelation
partial
functions, and then
autocorrelation
using
functions.
the grid search algorithm, whether it's in Python and R. But yeah, good job. Okay, that's all for my questions.
All right. I think that's it. Our group 2 can breathe now. Kasi wala nang tanong si Ben and Bash. Congratulations to Team Precipitation. Great job. We're really looking forward to be able to use this in real life settings, especially because of a really relevant issue on typhoon and calamity and disaster risk reduction here in the Philippines. Thank you again, judges. Those were our capstone projects so far, and we are now at our third capstone project of the night and the final group for the first half of our program. Their capstone project is entitled The Data Journey Archetypes of a Data Professional. Ito ba ay, what does a data professional look like? Yan. Please welcome Andre Dometita, Mike Arsolon, Tristan Chu, and Christian Pantoja for their capstone project presentation. Here we go.
Good evening, everyone. Our group will be presenting our capstone project, entitled The Data Journey, Archetypes of Data Professionals. If you are here watching these presentations, then I would suppose that you would be interested in the field of data science and are wondering how to become a data professional yourself, right? Well, obviously, the answer would be to join Escuelabs. You learn so many useful things that I've listed here, and even more that aren't, that can be used to jumpstart your career in data science. However, knowing all these things might still not be enough to become a data scientist because the field is so broad. So what now? What can we do after Escuelabs, and how does one pursue a career in data science? One way to answer that question would be to look through what other data science professionals have done before, which brings us to a 2018 study that analyzed 100 LinkedIn profiles to glean insights on what other data professionals in the Philippines have done in order to obtain jobs in the data industry. However, 100 profiles is kind of a low number, and we can do better than that. So instead of 100 profiles, how about 1,695? We scraped LinkedIn for the profiles which included the data professional's educational history and background, work experience, the industry sectors of their jobs, and finally, their skills and certifications.
For the summary of our methodology, we did data collection, data cleaning and pre-processing, EDA, and data modeling. For our data collection, we scraped the profile details in the LinkedIn site using Beautiful Soup, Selenium, and API requests. For the data cleaning and pre-processing, we excluded names and profile URLs and did manual tagging for job categories, education, and certifications. And for the EDA, we analyzed the data based on job categories, working experience, and industries distribution. To understand the educational pathway of the data professionals in our dataset, we tagged the reported educational background into either a college degree, master's degree, and whether or not they are related to data science. Lastly, for the certifications, we used a total of 68 data science related keywords to identify whether or not each certification is related to data science. We also categorized each of the job roles in our dataset to be data or non-data related. Data-related jobs were further broken down into their categories based on the framework for analytics professionals coined by the Analytics Association of the Philippines. The identified data job roles are shown here. To categorize over 5,000 scraped job roles, we manually tagged 1,200 of the dataset to train an LTK naive-based classifier. Our classifier with an accuracy score of 67% was used to tag the remaining job roles.
Now, looking into our gathered data, we see that only a small majority of profiles have taken formal data science training. But those who weren't able to learn this in school were able to equip themselves with skills via certifications and short courses, which is now being offered by several platforms. Common globally known upskilling platforms are Coursera, Datacamp, and Udemy. But we have local upskilling platforms too. Leading the scene is Project Sparta, which is spearheaded by the Development Academy of the Philippines, and of course, our very own Escuelabs. We've identified the top 10 data-driven industries based on the number of data professionals they employ. Here we see that it's dominated by consulting industries, banking and financial industries, technology, and telecommunications. Altogether, they employ 74% of data professionals in the labor market. This suggests that data teams of the top 10 industries come in larger groups with different experiences and backgrounds, whereas other industries are composed of smaller and more agile teams. Companies belonging to the top 10 data-driven industries employ more data scientists than functional analysts. Their teams also tend to constitute more data engineers. On the other hand, teams of other industries are composed of more functional analysts. Looking at the working experience of the profiles, we see that a typical data professional today has had 4 to 11 years of working experience, with 2 to 7 years of those spent in a data role. On average, they have spent 62% of their working years dealing heavily with data. This suggests that there are a significant number of data professionals who shifted in coming from a different job. And so we asked, what were their previous jobs? Here we see that a lot of them came from the domain of software and research. They have held roles as an engineer or a developer, and their job level ranges from entry-level, associate, or assistant roles all the way up to managerial and consultancy roles. In terms of job mobility, majority of professionals changes roles every 2 years or less. This includes promotions, lateral movements, and company transfers. What this implies is that there's a lot of room for growth in the field. You have a wide playing field to chart your data career, and you have the opportunity to try out different roles in the data job family.
For features that we are using, we use these data points for our model. We also restructured the data through retagging for numbers 1 to 9 and bin number 10 to 12, which is our numerical data, to have an exponential increase to describe recency and experience of a profile. Here we have the flowchart of our data modeling pipeline. After we do all the pre-processing, we proceed to use the elbow method to know how many clusters we would use through the cost and the shape of the elbow. We then created a model and used it to create two outputs, the clustered profiles and the cluster characteristics. So for our model in this project, we use the K-mode clustering model as our data is based on categoricals. And for our parameters, we tried multiple different ones to tune, but we mainly focused on checking the method of initializations of Wang and Cao if they may give us better results. Here's our elbow plot, and we have determined that the best case is having 5 clusters, as this is the moment the model tapers off. In the bottom is the final model parameters we have obtained through our testing. So now we go through our archetypes. Based on the 5 clusters identified, we came up with 5 archetypes for our data professionals in our dataset. These are the shifter, the architect, the purist, the veteran, and the domain expert. The most common of these archetypes is the shifter. They are characterized as individuals without a formal data background who have shifted into the data industry mid-career through taking up a functional analyst role. These people are still at the beginning of their data journey and will require more experience in order to transition into other data roles later on. Many of the shifters have more years of experience before their first data role on average, signifying that they were shifting from another industry. This is evident in the sample profile we are displaying, which is one from our dataset, who was originally from an engineering background before joining a data bootcamp in Esquelabs and later securing a role as a data analyst at Uber. Next, the architects, the cluster of data professionals who are mainly specialized in the data engineering role, a role that requires unique skills such as data warehousing, knowledge of databases, and being especially fluent in programming. We noted that many people who had a background in IT or computer science had the option of leveraging the knowledge into data engineering, which is why many of these individuals have jobs that were tagged as data engineers.
The purist archetype consists of individuals who gain their data-related skills from formal education, and is the cluster with the highest incidence of individuals with a data-related college degree and a data-related master's degree in data science. These individuals likely started their careers with data in mind from early on. Here is our sample profile for the purist archetype. As you can see from this, these individuals are likely to be involved in doing data-related things from the beginning. The veteran is a cluster that looks somewhat similar to the purist, but instead of taking a master's degree in data science, these are individuals who went directly into the field to hone their skills, supplemented by data short courses. Here is our sample profile for the veteran archetype. As you can see, this is the cluster with the lowest amount of experience before taking their first data role, meaning that these people are spending most of their years in the data industry, even without taking a master's degree in data science. Finally, the domain expert is the archetype that consists of individuals with substantial experience working in a specific domain, indicated by years of experience and years of formal education. They bring with them their domain expertise as they transition into a data scientist role. This is the archetype with the highest amount of experience before their first data role, indicating that the domain expert is shifting into the data industry from a rather mature career in another field. As an example, the individual in our sample profile had many years researching physics before becoming a data scientist. With this, we can move on to our conclusions and recommendations.
Our research has shown that data professional jobs are very technical. To get into these roles, you must either have a related educational background or have taken training or certifications that demonstrate you have the specific technical skills needed for the role. For those who don't have background in math, statistics, or programming, taking masters in data science or completing boot camps and certifications are common pathways in gaining the skills. Lastly, data jobs are mobile. Movements occur every 2 years or less, indicating that there's a wide room for growth in this profession. For our batchmates in this fellowship program, should you wish to be working in big data teams and be exposed to peers with various levels of experience and backgrounds, we recommend you to aim for any of the top 10 data-driven industries, such as IT consulting, outsourcing, and financial services. For mid-career shifters looking to break into data, you can use the domain knowledge you developed prior as leverage to complement the technical skills you've learned in this fellowship program. Lastly, for individuals without much experience or education yet aspire to be a data scientist, we recommend you to try a functional analyst role as an entry into the field. We hope that through understanding these different archetypes, you may supercharge your career, whether you're a seasoned veteran in data industry or someone just starting out. Though this does not mean you need to conform to these archetypes, these serve as a guide. Ultimately, it's your choice in how you want to thrive in this revolutionary industry. Once again, we are Group 3, and thank you for listening.
And very, very helpful. Thank you so much, Team Data Journey. Again, for our audience, as mentioned in the chat, please feel free to head on over to the Dory link to send in your inquiries for the group, and we will answer this during the Q&A or reply directly to them after. I'd like to call on your sole panelist for this group, Bash, to join us again for Team Data Journeys panel segment. Now it's time for the second round of Q&A for our fellows. We'd like to call on Group 3 to get on the virtual stage. Bash, go ahead.
Are you ready, guys? Game. So a very interesting thing, but please don't get offended. Sometimes the conversations that we need to have with like data set involving people are sometimes mushy. So let's go back to your data set. Is scraping LinkedIn legal? Google, is it legal?
Very interesting question kasi kaka-premium ko lang sa LinkedIn.
Oh,
So I was wondering if kailangan
rich kid,
free trial lang ba?
Free trial, okay, same. I don't have money to buy premium subscription. But be careful with scraping social media websites, right? So there's a recent ruling from the Supreme Court sa US last year lang. Now there's this company called HiQ. Kasi block sila ni LinkedIn from scraping their data, saying that it's unethical, it's against privacy concerns of their like users. But HiQ won the current ruling, so they're still like allowed. But although it's legal, technically, what's your stance in scraping these data points, and how do you ensure that you don't trespass against privacy of the individuals that you scrape? You scrape more than 1,000 people. What's your stand regarding data ethics and data privacy?
I guess for me at least. Because one of the very important things is to know the PIP, like personal. If I remember correctly, it's personal. Something like the critical information that people have, such as name, age, where they live. Those are the information that we made sure that we didn't include in our data set. We only
but
include.
I can also get that using proxy variables, right? I can look at the number of years your experience with this company and look at the difference from when you graduated from college, and I approximate your age. I can always use those reverse engineering tactics to get that. So any things that you did to ensure that those things are not going to happen?
Makes sense.
How do you feel, for example, if I go to your account, like stalk you, and then tell you some of the hidden like patterns that I saw from your profile, right? So the lesson here is that we should be very careful in terms of scraping data that can go back to identify an individual, right? So this is a very huge issue where I work in Europe, right? We're very careful with GDPR, with personally identifiable information. So although the insights are really, really good, we need to be very careful in terms of processing this information. ChatGPT, everything is scary, like our faces are being turned by algorithms, and like people are very, very anxious with how AI is transforming the world and maybe stealing some of our identity. So be very like careful with that regard. But my question on a technical standpoint, you mentioned that you have a 67% accuracy for your classification algorithm. Is that correct?
Yes, we use that to tag the roles according to their categories, whether they're analytics manager or
Okay. So 67% accuracy. Question is it enough? And did you look at false positives? So false positives meaning you, for example, data scientists, they are not data scientists, but they are classified as data scientists in your like algorithms. How do you account for that?
Yep. Part of the categories that we made the model classifies. One of the categories is non-data, so we have a separate category for that. So we think 67% accuracy is enough, considering that we have 8 total categories. So a random guess would be
Across which baseline? So yeah, random guess. So 0.5.
Yes, 0.5.
And you're like, what other baselines aside from like a random guess? Can you tell us that you've used? Any like research, like publications that have done the same? Because I saw that you mentioned like a similar journal, right, from Indonesia. Weird. Indonesians like looking at like Filipino data scientist data on LinkedIn.
Yes, actually, that's the only comparison that we had
Okay.
to to assess whether or not the accuracy is enough.
Okay, so again, when we're doing like a baseline comparison, it's better to have like more background and support from like previous studies, because I think a lot of previous studies, even within ESCO labs, they've done this research before. So our next question, what is the difference between a data architect and a data engineer? Because I think you classify them as a similar component.
Sorry, correction. We classify them both as data engineers.
Right,
Mainly
right, right.
we define that as someone who designs, constructs, or maintains data infrastructures, including applications that extract, clean, or transform data from transactional systems into centralized data
Okay,
repositories.
got it. And then just like one final word of notice, you need to properly study your data set first, because when you look at those numbers, sometimes maybe you're not describing Philippine state of like data jobs, right? Because most of the people there, those 1,000, I think they're also working abroad. So the skill sets and the things that the experiences, the tools that they've been using maybe reflects a different type of segment overall. So maybe we're like comparing apples to like oranges in that regard. So maybe you can separate like those data scientists who are based abroad versus those data scientists working in the context of Philippine problems and Philippine organizations. So that might be like a stronger fit. But overall, again, your methodologies are solid. And then looking forward to like your reflections on about like data ethics, data privacy, because again, it will be a very relevant concern moving forward in this day and age. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Ayan, thank you so much, Bash. Thank you so much, Group 3, Team Data Journey, for that presentation and for that exchange of insights. You really learn a lot from these experiences. And I think there is more and more attention and clamor for the data journey kind of life. And I think that's proven by the number of people we have in today's demo day. Thanks so much, everyone, for attending. Before we move on to our last two capstone projects, groups for tonight, we will give you 1 short minute, talagang isang minute lang, for a break. You can breathe, breathe in and breathe out. You know, deeper breaths are better. 2 out of the 3 breaths that you take, fun fact, are from the oceans. So please protect the oceans. Or if not, we won't be able to breathe free oxygen. Sorry sa segue. If you can also do some stretches there. I don't know where you are. Are you in your bedroom? Nasa sala ba kayo? Nasa banyo ba kayo? Di ko alam. You can also do stretches, arm stretches, leg stretches. You can also drink your water according to the patron saint for water, Mimiya. Drink your water, bestie. No? Also, a quick reminder to our audience that we are currently experiencing a Zoom glitch. So if you are named Karith right now in the Zoom room and your name is not Karith, your parents decided to give you another name. Please change your names to your real names so we can see that and we can check the attendance and we can scrape data on your Facebook. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. That was just jumping off from what Bash said. Sabi niya, what if my behavior is like being checked up on online, which is already happening? That's why they're targeting ads. Anyway, I hope you are having fun in your 1 minute break. I believe you have 20 seconds left for this break before we head on over to the next capstone group. I hope you've drank some water. I hope you've done your stretches and you've also, breathed in and out. We are ready. Okay, I think we're ready. All right. Sige. Before we meet our next group of fellows, I would like to remind the audience once more that you can send your questions to the fellows by going to the Dory link that is shown on the screen. There you have it. It's bit.ly/DSC10DDQA. All right. And if you already see a similar question on the Dory link, you may also click on the thumbs up to upvote it, meaning I agree with this question. We have the same question. This is a question that needs to be answered. Right? So see you there on the Dory link for our previous groups and for our groups that will follow. Let's get to it na sa ating last two groups for this capstone presentation. I hope you're all excited to meet our next group. I am excited because the title of their project sounds familiar last May. Please give a warm welcome to Div Alan, Sofia Calvo, Pim Cabanlit, R. Dedal, and Kiara Perez with their project, Let Local Lead. Ayan, improving products and increasing awareness of Philippine skincare brands. Oh, I need this also for my very dying skin. Now, let's watch this video and see what they have for us for this capstone project. This is Group 4 with Let Local Lead.
Hi everyone, we're here today to present our capstone project titled Let Local Lead, Improving Products and Increasing Awareness of Philippine Skincare Brands. Are you just like me, you can start or end my day without a proper skincare routine? If yes, then you're part of the community who was able to value the skincare industry at a whopping 52 billion pesos in 2021. In fact, it is expected to reach 75 billion by 2026. Now, that's a huge market. But we found that international brands dominate this huge opportunity. America and Korea are neck and neck, followed by Japan, while the Philippines is just a tiny chunk alongside other countries. I'm sure we're familiar with the brands that are currently dominating. These are Procter & Gamble, Unilever, Johnson & Johnson, and so on. Happy Skin, one of the local skincare brands in the Philippines, has the goal to be globally competitive. We believe that if a local skincare brand wants to be globally competitive, they should be competitive locally first. However, as you can see, the same international trend follows in the Philippines. A survey by Statista was conducted, and we found that Filipinos mostly have Korean skincare brands in their shelves. Why is this so? There are a lot of factors that may affect product popularity. However, studies show that product composition is the most important factor when purchasing skincare. Now, let's move on to establishing the problem.
The problem is that the skincare market is highly valued globally, but unfortunately, the consumption of locally made skincare products is low. This presents a problem for the Philippine skincare industry since it is unable to tap into the growing skincare demands and even more so to compete with foreign brands. We need to find ways to promote the use of Philippine skincare products and increase the consumption among Filipinos. We set the following objectives, which mainly are to provide local brands with information about the ingredients of international skincare products and to increase awareness of locally made skincare products among Filipino consumers. To achieve these goals, we will focus on the following 4 key areas. First, we comparing the ingredients of international skincare products with those of local products to identify the potential gaps in their product offerings. Second, identifying the most popular ingredients found in top-rated international skincare products. Third, analyzing the consumer feedback about international skincare products to gain valuable insights into the factors that influence consumers' purchasing decisions. Lastly, to increase local brands' awareness, we want to see if there are local product alternatives of foreign products that are currently available in the market. Let's have an overview of our data set. We looked at the product offerings from Sephora and Beauty MNL websites, and we found a total of 2,141 products from a total of 255 brands, 34 of which are local and 221 are international. We also identified 9 features for each product, and we identified 7 main product categories. This data set allows us to perform a detailed analysis of the products and their characteristics. which we will present in the following slides. But first, we will show our pipeline, which includes the following steps. First, we web scrape data from two popular skincare websites, Sephora and Beauty MNO. Second, we cleaned and processed the scraped data using techniques such as tokenization, stopword removal, and lemmatization. Third, we performed exploratory data analysis to identify patterns and gain insights from the data. This includes using TF-IDF, comparing the top-rated and bottom-rated products based on their ingredients, and using topic modeling to analyze customer reviews and identify common themes in their feedback. Lastly, we developed a recommendation system that uses similarity scores based on ingredients and to recommend Philippine-made skincare products to consumers.
To formulate a best-selling product, we looked into what ingredients of international brands and compared it with local brands in beauty M&O. This will help local brands to identify any potential gaps in their product offerings. Compared to local products, international brands are dominated by plant-based ingredients like leaf extract, root extract, fruit extract, and seed oils. This shows us the trend of using plant extracts in the current skincare market. We also looked further into specific popular active ingredients of the top 500 top-rated products in Sephora using TF-IDF. Jujube extract for soothing and moisturizing, willow extract for anti-inflammatory and antibacterial properties, and BHA for exfoliating and anti-acne properties are the most popular active ingredients from top-rated products. Local brands could potentially incorporate these ingredients into their own product lines. We also wanted to see what customers care about when reviewing a product. We performed topic modeling on Sephora reviews to gain valuable insights into factors that influence consumers' purchasing decisions and use this information to improve their own products and marketing strategies. Among the topics in Sephora product reviews, reviews relating to different skin types are discussed the most, with 53.6%, followed by product types at 33.8%. This indicates that skincare users take their skin type into account when evaluating products.
So our last objective is to create a recommendation system to help improve brand awareness of Filipino skincare products. We also chose to build a recommender engine because of the benefits it could give to businesses. A study by Salesforce noted that personalized product recommendations can account for 26% of revenue generation. Another benefit would be repeat visits. 37% of those who click recommendations during their first visit return to the website. It also helps drive purchases because in fact, it can help attain a 24% conversion rate based from the recommendations. So moving on to our web app, here you can see the website name and the different product categories. So we created one tab for each product category to make the interface more convenient for the user when browsing for categories like moisturizer or toners, etc. So how exactly does our recommendation system work? So first, it will read the user's input. So the user will choose from a variety of products by category, brand, and product name. And then it will show the details of the chosen product. And based on the ingredients of the chosen product, the algorithm will compute the similarity score. The algorithm will assess how similar the products chosen is to all the products in the dataset. And then finally, it will return the top 5 most similar local skincare products. So the consumer can then choose from the list of the suggested products. So by providing consumers, especially Filipino consumers, with information about local alternatives to international skincare products, we hope to increase their awareness of the range of options available to them and encourage them to support local brands. Ika nga tangkilikin ang sariling atin.
So wrapping it all up, we first wanted to inform local brands on ingredients of international products because we found that international brands still dominate the highly valued skincare market. So with that, we recommend for local skincare brands to ride the clean beauty trend. Clean beauty means that skincare products are quick and easy to use. They serve a multi-purpose. So for example, a product can be both a serum and a moisturizer. And third, most importantly, are formulated with simple ingredients, specifically focusing on ingredients that are plant-based. Next, we recommend for skincare brands to prioritize the consumer skin types when formulating a product, since these are what's most mentioned when consumers create a review. Consumers need to know beforehand that a certain product would work for their specific skin type. And lastly, we found out earlier what the popular ingredients are from highly rated international products. So we recommend that skincare brands invest in their research and development departments to consider why these ingredients are popular and if these ingredients would also satisfy the Philippine market. For the second objective, we aim to increase local brand awareness among Filipino consumers, and one solution we came up with was building the recommender engine. If the previous objective was talking about what local skincare brands should consider in creating for their future products, here we are talking about the products that are already available in the market. And we think that local e-commerce websites or informational websites would greatly benefit from having a built-in recommender engine, since they already have the platform, the audience, and their trust. Preview PH or Beauty Insider PH are some examples of informational websites that talk about beauty and wellness. We recommend that they implement such a recommender engine and to refine what we already built by adding more data to include more local products. So that's it from our team, and let's let local lead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Group number 4, Team Let Local Lead. Bakit parang maganda din ang skin ng lahat ng presenters sa group na to? But but seriously, I've also been, and down the rabbit hole of skincare, and it's always clamoring for Korean skincare products and never the Filipino skincare product. Like, what's a Filipino skincare product that you're proud to use and that you share you share to your friends about that you're using? Very, very helpful, incredible work. Thank you so much, Let Local Lead. Again, you know the drill. Please feel free to head on over to the Dory link to send in your inquiries for the group, and we will answer this during the Q&A, or we will reply directly to them after. Now it's time for the Q&A segment with our panel of judges, starting off with our main panelist for Team Skincare, Mr. John Inshong.
Okay, hello. It's really good to be back with Esquelab. So I really like the output of this one, right? It's very timely since we're talking about skincare products, whereas yesterday I was, in a supermarket and I'm checking out like a bunch of different moisturizers, And then it's also very timely because I also remember that animal cruelty testing is also a hot topic nowadays for skincare, right? So for this group, I only have 2 questions. So I'm actually asking this question from a consumer perspective and then from a business perspective, okay? So my first question is, you mentioned here on your tool that you are actually comparing similarity scores, right? And I actually want you to expound on that because this similarity score is actually just the intro of my first question, because my real question is that on a Filipino consumer perspective, would assigning the weight of the formulation of the ingredients on the product can change the tool's output, right? Considering if that data is available, right? Because I see that you web scrape Beauty Manila and Sephora, and I don't know if it's available there because I haven't checked yet. Because what I can see, it will just recommend you recommend you a list of products, but me as a consumer or a customer, I wanted to know that if you can recommend the best product. So I guess that's one. What is the similarity score, and have you already considered adding in the data for the percentage formulation of these ingredients?
Hello.
Yes, hello.
So for the similarity scores, since we can't really gather like the percentages of each ingredient, but the list of all the ingredients were present. So maybe I don't know if they'll be, since I think it will be a company secret, like the percentage of each ingredients would be a company secret. So I think we won't be able to get that. But I think what we did for the similarity was just purely on the ingredient and the type. So, and I think my groupmate R will be able to expound on this even further.
Yeah, for the similarity scores, it's merely using the ingredients and portion percentage of product type so that it's a weighted recommender engine where the product type and the ingredients are used to recommend the the product with. It has a precision of 0.97 and as well as a recall of 0.97 and an F1 score of 0.997. But from a perspective of a consumer, like our main task here is to like recommend the product from the Philippines, but in the same ano na again just from the ingredients na kung ano yung nasa most most popular or parang patok na product from the PH. Dun, that was the from our data. That was the basis for our data and our recommended products.
Okay, I think for this one recall is that you also add what is the definition of your similarity score on your tool, because it will actually confuse the user. Like, how did they know that this is rank 1, rank 2, based from this comparison on an international brand, right? So that's one recommendation. And then for my next question, I'll move forward, is that on the business perspective, because your aim or your goal is actually, to also help local brands increase awareness and drive. This is the word that I'm actually curious about. Drive increase in revenue, right? On sales, local sales, for them to be, globally competitive, right? But there are many factors for you to actually drive an increase in revenue, right? How are you gonna actually act on it on the perspective of a local skincare business owner? How are you planning to market the tool, considering that there are factors like, the Korean culture that highly influences the consumer buying choices? Because for you to drive revenue, you also need to take a look at, the channel where you're gonna buy the product, because you mentioned here is only one channel, which is the e-commerce channel, because you only web scrape Sephora and Beauty Manila, right? So there are other promotions that international brands are doing, and definitely culture is one impact that can actually, be relative for the consumer buying choices. So for me, if I'm the business, this is not actually a question, but for me, I don't see any connection on the tool on how it could actually drive increase in revenue to my sales, because technically it will not redirect people, direct people to buy local initially or effectively, right? It would not tell me that, hey, go directly buy this one because this is a better alternative on this one. It will just recommend you the buying option. So maybe on that one, I want a deep dive on the business perspective, like how you market this tool to a local business, a local skincare business owner.
Hi, so I guess I can start off. Thanks for that question. So yeah, we understand that there are really a ton of factors that one can consider in buying skincare products. Like we searched about that. It's price, the product itself, the promotions, like you've mentioned, where you can buy the product, and so on and so forth. So for our study, we focused on just the product itself. And when you say the product itself, there's a lot of things that you can take into consideration as well, like the branding, the marketing. So for us, we did we specified on just the ingredients. So with that alone, just to reiterate, like one of the key points in our project was to really focus on like plant-based ingredients and stuff like that. So if we were to market this tool, we mentioned in the recommendations that for this recommendation engine can be used by those local websites like Beauty Insider, or those websites that focus on beauty and wellness, to incorporate this tool in their website. So for example, you go inside Beauty Insider PH and you have this tab specifically for this recommendation engine, and viewers or readers of this website that already trust this this site can click on that and then already get awareness of the brand by using the recommendation engine. So I think from that alone, I guess it's also one thing to improve on for our recommendation engine, because we didn't put any link where you can buy the product. So I think that can also be included in the recommendation engine, as well as like the reviews, because in our current model, it's just you pick up product and then the similar, like the top five products are there. So I guess the reviews also we can include in the recommendation engine, as well as the link. Yeah. So I agree. I really agree that there are really tons of ways for to drive revenue, or for a product to be purchased by the consumer. So I guess that's one of the things that our group can look into further, to expand more on like the branding and in other factors as well. So yeah, if there's anyone of my groupmates want to add on that as well.
Yeah, just sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we mentioned that our recommendation engine, our recommendation is based on products. But just to supplement on that, so for this tool to have a wider reach and can be promoted well, I think today the use of influencers is a boom. So perhaps that way we can also tap on that strategy to further introduce this kind of system.
Yeah, actually, the answer that I wanted to hear actually is given already by Eddie Sophia. So good point in that you can actually integrate the reviews on the tool. And for those who are already using Beauty Manila, you can actually link your tool in there, because from there you know that they're using the data from Beauty Manila. So that's also one good recommendation. So I think that's all my questions, and congratulations. This is very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Bash, your turn.
Okay, quick question. How do you verify the performance of the recommendation engine?
Yeah, we used precision because it.
How do you use precision? So for example, I put in the parameters, the input, blah, blah, blah. How is precision related to saying how successful the recommendations are, how effective they are?
Oh, high precision means that the model is able to recommend relevant products with a.
How do you measure relevance?
Low.
What is relevant?
The ground truth for us is the product type. So if the recommender recommends the correct product type, so that's the measure of relevance. And also the ingredients.
It's a supervised machine learning problem, right? It's a supervised machine learning problem.
Yes.
You have labels. Where did
Yes.
you get the labels? What are the labels again?
The labels are the ingredients and the product types, but there are also other features that we use. But in the recommender engine, we mainly use the product type and the ingredients.
Okay. You're talking about the validation set. I'm talking about the actual performance. So for example, if I'm a user based in the Philippines, I try to use your model. How do I know the performance of your recommendation engine? Like, how do I verify it? Is it good enough? So for example, I usually use Clinique for my skincare, for example. And then I tried it, and then suddenly it recommends Human Nature, because Human Nature is a Filipino brand. So how do you measure that kind of like performance? Is it like a good recommendation? Is it a bad recommendation? How do you reconcile that?
I think that would need further testing, since for now the only data that we have, like that are available, are like what this foreign skincare brand, and then this is the local skincare brand with this specific ingredients. So I think for to improve our system, it would be better to like gather a lot more data, since right now we only have like around 700 plus products for the local skincare brand. But if it will be popularized, and most skincare brands in the Philippines and most skincare brands in the foreign skincare brands will be inputted in our system, I think we would be getting a pretty much accurate recommendations. And also maybe once this was launched, maybe we can get customer feedback that can maybe was this effective, or maybe like some other factors if it really work.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for. We call it human in the loop. You need to like engage communities to actually tell you whether the algorithms are correct. Not only like the mathematics telling it's correct, not only about precision, it's about the humans who will use the end product eventually, right? So it's human in the loop, human-centered design. That's what is important. And yeah, I mean, your methodology is solid. I agree with what you guys done. But from an activist perspective, I might disagree with some of your points because Filipino skin is different, right? So it's not necessarily like good to just like recommend products that are effective to white-skinned people, to like those products who cater to from the Western countries. So it might be different for us. So you might need to consider that as well. And in terms of like on a scientific perspective, sometimes those like companies also do unethical things like greenwashing. Like they use like what do you call this, like products that are like nature-based, blah blah blah. But if you ask dermatologists, what would they recommend? Retinoids, those kinds of things, right? So again, human in the loop, you might need to consult dermatologists because again, you're dealing with human people. So it's not necessarily just like recommending this product to a person and you're not be liable to what might happen to that person, right? So you need to be very careful in terms of like handling of and then looking at the effect of these recommendation engines to people. So again, human in the loop, engage your communities, engage experts like dermatologists, so you're making sure that your recommendations are scientifically and data driven, evidence based, and so on. But so far your methodology is solid, but think of ethics and human-centered design along the pipeline that you've been creating. Yeah, but good job.
According sorry, go ahead, Sophia.
I just wanted to add to the point where you mentioned if US based products won't work for example, Westerners based products won't work for our skin, but it's sort of a thing to look into because we saw surveys on that, and one of the reasons why this we looked into skincare or looked into broadening the local products. I mean, introducing local products to Filipinos is because we found that Filipinos actually use or prefer Western products more than our own, or more than
yeah.
so that's
So
what we
that's a cultural discussion, right? So that's a problem of like club mentality and things
definitely
like that.
understand. Like,
yeah,
there are really different cultures when it comes to skincare. For Korea, it's different. For US, it's different. Stuff like that. But for for Filipinos, like I said, a lot of people majority use international products. Yeah.
Then that's where we introduce algorithmic bias, right? Where do you want the industry to be led on, right? So that's again another like discussion that you can include with your parameters and metrics. But yeah, good job for starting the discussion. I enjoyed it.
Bash, salamat. John, salamat. And thank you so much to our Let Local Lead team. Di ko alam na nasa team pala si Eliza Valdez. Div, you look so much like Eliza.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Let Local Lead. Kailangan ka lang talagang sabihin yun because hindi ako makatulog tonight if hindi ko sabihin. So here's to hoping really for more support and awareness on local skincare products in the Philippines. And here's to hoping for better skin for acne-prone people like myself. We are now down to our last capstone project of the night. Please give a warm welcome to our final capstone project, for our final group rather, Andre Pardillo, Enrique Asuncion, Karen Dioy, Carla Concepcion, and Andres Aluta with Travelog, harnessing the power of data for business decisions in the hotel industry. They'll be uplifting Philippine tourism by helping hotel owners improve service through a data-driven and customer-centric approach. Here we go.
Good evening, everyone. I am Andres, and together with Andre, Enrico, Karen, and Carla, we would like to welcome you to Travelog, harnessing the power of data for business decisions in the hotel industry. The COVID-19 pandemic's toll on the hotel industry was one of the heaviest. Hotel vacancies were high, losses grew, and layoffs were present in hotels everywhere. This negative trend started to see some recovery around the third quarter of 2021, but it was never resolved to the pre-pandemic levels. And that's a problem we want to solve. The pandemic has changed the travel landscape, and we want to help hotel owners adapt their strategies by analyzing post-pandemic consumer behavior to surpass the pre-pandemic levels. Our goal is uplifting Philippine tourism by helping hotel owners improve service through a data-driven and customer-centric approach. One of the ways that we can achieve this is by trying to reach the international standard for hotels. We found out that foreigners are more likely to give negative reviews for their hotel stays, meaning that we have to be comparable to hotels from other countries as well. Our data was collected from Booking.com, where we were able to scrape 300 rows of hotel level information and 50,000 room level reviews.
To help the hotel industry, we investigated their customer characteristics to address unmet needs. First, we check who their customers are. We found out that solo travelers are more likely to leave negative reviews than couples or other types of travelers. Additionally, the longer a guest stays at a hotel, the more likely they are to write a negative review. The typical length of a hotel stay is 1 to 2 nights. We also performed clustering to identify key customer groups. We identified a total of 5 clusters: low-budget solo, low-budget couple, mid-budget couple, mid-budget family, and high-budget family. These clusters were determined based on the occupant type, budget, and room type preference of the customers included in the dataset using K-prototype clustering, which is a sibling of K-means clustering developed to cater mixed data types. After profiling the customers, we also investigated what matters to them when it comes to their hotel stay. We examined the positive and negative reviews we scraped from Booking.com and found out that these are the top nouns customers mention in their reviews: staff, room, location, and price or value for money. To further investigate what customers say about these 4 key observations, we identified the top positive adjectives and top complaints per key observation. As a recommendation, hotel owners need to keep in mind these adjectives in hiring hotel staff. Also, it is important to improve their available rooms to keep attracting customers. And lastly, they need to make sure that they are providing services that are worth the customer's money.
After studying customer reviews, we will now examine hotel features. The next question is, which types of hotels do customers prefer? To find out, we examined the relationship between the hotel's review rating and various features, and we found the following correlations. Here, I would like to highlight the importance of adding more features. This could increase our star rating, potential revenues, and most importantly, the overall review rating of our hotel. To determine which facilities to prioritize, we then examined top lacking facilities that made each cluster unsatisfied with their stay. Here, shown below, are the most important facilities per cluster. Common facilities include keycard access, accessible parking, and a socket near the bed. So aside from having nice facilities, we learned earlier that placing hotels in convenient locations is also important for the guests. Based on our data, Pasig and Makati are the top 2 cities with the highest average review rating. In the next slides, we will be studying the locational features of these 2 cities. Here we can see that Makati and Pasig hotels have many nearby walkable attractions. They are also located close to restaurants and bars. In short, hotel guests prefer cities with many nearby walkable attractions and nearby restaurants. We also incorporated our customer segments into our maps to find out which locational features matter most to each cluster. Low-budget solo travelers tend to enjoy hotels in cities such as Quezon City, Pasig, and Muntinlupa, which have affordable but high-quality hotels. Meanwhile, location doesn't matter as much to higher income clusters. Taguig is the highest rated city within the high-budget family cluster. For them, having access to high-class facilities is more important than having many nearby attractions.
Our group developed two machine learning models to aid the hotel owners on their decision making and improve their marketing strategies. The first model is a classification model using the reviews, which will classify if a particular guest will enjoy their stay given certain features of the hotel. Using this model will help the owners to know which type of customers they can focus on given their price, amenities, and location to have a better reviews and will improve their reputation. The development of this classification model involves these three steps. First is the pre-processing of data and features which will be used by the models. After pre-processing, we executed 5 baseline models. Our main metric for this classification is the precision score to accurately measure the number of guests that will give a better review. After running multiple models, we decided to use the gradient boosting with the precision score of 70.2% as this model has the lowest loss and has the best interpretability. We also employed explainability techniques such as SHOP to understand what factors affected the most to classify the review. Based on this graph, the most relevant factor is the nationality, followed by the number of amenities in the bedroom and the price of the room.
Another way we can help hotel owners is by identifying a price that would be considered reasonable, given specific hotel and room features. As determined by our analysis of guest reviews earlier, having reasonably priced rooms contribute to higher ratings and an overall better stay. To do this, we created a model that aims to predict what this reasonable price is. The following steps were taken in the development of our final pricing model. This includes pre-processing steps such as the removal of outliers and multicollinear features. We then fitted several models and selected the best one based on specific evaluation metrics, and then determined which features contribute the most to the price of a hotel room. We fitted 6 models, and the best models was determined based on the R-squared, which tells us how well the dependent variables explain the variability in the prices, and the RMSE, which tells us how close the observed data points are to the model's predicted values. And as you can see, the X-trace regressor had the highest values for these two metrics. Based on our model, we identified the following determinants of room price. High contributors such as having a specific room type, their hotel star rating, and the location will justify higher hotel room pricing. And interestingly, current room review scores have little to no bearing in the determination of room prices, which reflects the current state that these reviews are not utilized. This presents an opportunity for hoteliers to listen to their customers and improve on their services.
We created 2 major features for the deployment of this project. The first is an interactive data visualization dashboard that will include our EDA and clustering. And the other one is a guest experience classifier web app where you can input details of a hotel room booking, like its amenities and location, and the model will output the prediction probability, their experience, and an estimated price for the stay, as can be seen here in the demonstration upon clicking submit. Now to summarize our findings, we found out that staff, room, location, and the price or value matter the most to these hotel guests. Guests prefer locations with complete facilities and is located in convenient locations. And currently, room review scores have little to no bearing in the determination of room prices. For the next steps of this project, we want to expand the scope to other cities such as Cebu, Davao, and nearby cities in Metro Manila. And we want to expand the dataset past these limitations that we found. We found bias and limitations that first, OTAs remove negative reviews to include more positive reviews. Next is response bias. And we also want to include other OTAs aside from Booking.com. And we also want to try to include other dates since different dates dictate different prices, availability, etc. And that concludes our presentation. Again, we are Travelog. And until next time, we would like to wish you the safest of travels. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Team Travelog. I think in this post-COVID era, kung tapos na ang COVID, when people now are hungrier more than ever to go out and travel and book accommodation, this is a very relevant capstone project. Now let's see what our panelists have to say. But before that, again, for our audience, this is the last presentation. Please feel free to head on over to the Dory link to send in your inquiries for the group, and the fellows will answer this directly in the Dory after. Now it's time for our final Q&A with our panel judges, starting off with our main panelist for Team Travelog, Mr. Raymark Mendoza.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the team for a very good presentation. I can truly say that the project is something that the hotels can venture into developing strategies, especially on increasing customer satisfaction. And tourist satisfaction is one of the KPIs that's very important in the hotel industry. That's why this is a really good case for the hoteliers. I have two questions. For my first question, bias has always been a challenge when using customer reviews as the data threat. So my question is, on your next steps, what are your specific plans in mitigating the bias on OTA platforms, considering that they control reviews on their platform?
Let's have our team travelogue think about that question. Anyone from the group would want to answer that?
Hello. So, before when we were trying to discuss these biases, since it was pointed out that there are indeed many issues with bias in these reviews and the others that we listed, the restrictions with time, the changes that happens on a day-to-day basis. We wanted to avoid the bias in reviews, since apart from OTAs controlling the reviews, sometimes not all biases are in these online OTAs. Sometimes there is the option for visitors to leave their reviews on the there's a Dropbox probably sometimes, and there's no assurance that all of these reviews are valid. So um we, if possible, we would just want to coordinate with a hotel and have legitimate reviews that are directed to them and not specifically to the OTA, or whichever type of coordination they have in dropping these reviews. We want to just have the raw data that are not curated for customers or visitors, which is what the OTAs do. So if possible, we just want some, we would to have more accuracy. We just want some direct data from them and not through their own curation and adjustments, like the dropping as mentioned.
Also, to add to that, two things that we can do is, first, since one of the limitations of our data is that we only took from one OTA, given the time constraints. So what we can do, given more time and more resources, what we can do is to check different OTAs and kind of compare the results. If this more like a cross-validation technique, if this insight holds on different OTAs. So that's one. Another is to coordinate with different or hotel experts to see if, okay, does this make sense? Does our insights make sense? Or if not, then maybe we can do something else, or maybe we can do add improvements in our sampling. So yeah, that's just a few of the things that we can do to incorporate or to avoid some of these biases.
Yeah, I think it's important to validate the data. Um, and yeah, I think it's a good thing that we can cross validate this data to other data sources. And for my second question, aside from the features that you have used, what other features that the team may consider including to further improve the models, or the team just consider to acquire other data sources, as you have mentioned, aside from the customer reviews, especially if your team is to expand the data set?
Also, one of the things that we can do, since our data is limited based on like what we can find on the website. So let's say we have another partner or company partner that can give us different data or different ways of approaching the problem. Then we can most definitely incorporate that into our study. Also, another thing that we can do, given more time, is to use like a network, is to do like a network analysis of like the distance between the hotel towards like nearby attractions or restaurants. So maybe we can use like Google API or something like that to make like locational studies and try to see if we can take some insights based on how the proximity of our hotel towards different nearby attractions. So that's definitely something we can work on in our future if we decide to pursue it further.
Just to add on that, we're aware that different hoteliers implement different pricing strategies for their hotels. So some hoteliers use occupancy-based pricing strategies, and others use demand-based pricing strategies. So we would like to consult different types of hoteliers to on what they can suggest to improve or personalize our pricing models.
Yeah, I think that's also what I also think. I think the length of stay of the guests is one feature that the team can also consider if you're uh, improving the model. And yeah, I think overall the project is a very good case on customer profiling, especially right after the booking, and the hotel can make personalized experience for the tourists and eventually increase its satisfaction. Good job, guys.
Thank you, Raymark. Bash, over to you.
This is very close to heart because I've been living in hotels for the past 3 months. So I know how it's hard to get like a good hotel, and I've been one of those people who rates low when I just like stay for like 1 to 2 days. So I'm part of the data set, I think, because I always use booking.com as well. So my question, what's the most important feature that determines price for hotel bookings?
For the hotel bookings, what we found out, the most important feature was the room type. A specific room type. That's the most important feature that we found.
That's obvious, right? So what's the
Yeah.
second one? What's the second one?
If I remember correctly, the second one is the star rating of the hotel. So like if you have a higher star rating, then you would have like the ability to charge higher prices, which is again pretty obvious.
Oh, okay. But I think what's missing here when doing these types of analysis, the temporal component, right? Did you consider like temporal component like the time? Like for example, I usually notice that when booking hotels, it's way more expensive booking it on a Friday or like on a weekend as compared to just like normal weekdays. And then also if I just like came from like an airport and then wanted to book at the same hour, it's really expensive like doing that. So how do you consider like temporal effects in your models?
Right now, the model that we've created does not take into consideration these temporal effects.
So what models do you think would be relevant for considering temporal effects?
I think like some of the time series models could be used here. That look into like the changes in prices, like the change in price as like the date of booking. The date of occupancy, or like when the person would stay in the hotel is closer. So we would use that as like day 0 and then have that as like negative and then positive. Just negative, sorry.
Okay. That's a good point, but do remember that most of the things I think that's discussed in the bootcamp does not consider like temporal aspects, right? So usually use like neural networks and hidden Markov models. Of course, you use your regular statistical like time series, ARIMA, SARIMA, and like those signal decomposition techniques, but mostly the performance of those models are being beaten by neural networks, right? So your LSTM, convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks, RNNs. Those are the models that you might want to consider integrating those temporal aspects. But yeah, overall, good job. Very interesting inputs. I hope you continue working on this because there's money, honestly, with these types of like projects. So better find and apply for like booking.com or create your own startup for it. Good job, guys.
Grabe, wala pala kayong pinagkaibahan ni J.K. Rowling, Basha, living in hotels for months.
I don't have a choice. I'm a digital nomad.
Yan. Thank you, Bash. Thank you, Raymark. And thank you to our team, Travelog. And that officially wraps up our demo day from all the 5 presentations from all of our teams. Let's give a virtual round of applause to the Data Science Fellowship Cohort, 10 fellows. And of course, give yourselves a round of applause for being such a great audience tonight. Let's send our congratulations. Pa-congrats naman natin ang fellows. Let's send them our heart reactions dyan sa Zoom, or you can type in your congratulations dyan sa Zoom chat. Send in your congratulations to the fellows because they worked weeks and weeks. They worked so hard for this, and they finally made it to demo day, and it was a very successful presentation. Let's give our love and appreciation and congratulations to our fellows. Before we close the night, the Escuelabs team has sent over a short feedback form and launched a Zoom poll for your comments and feedback. We take your feedback very seriously, and we will be using this data, ayan, to improve our events in the future. So please do try and answer our Zoom poll, feedback poll as well. And as you're all answering the poll, meron akong promise kanina. I know promises are made to be broken. My ex did not grant me their promise. Charot. We are giving all Cohort 10 applicants who are here tonight a special discount code. All right. So the assessment deadline for the Data Science Fellowship is fast approaching. So don't forget to sign up and take the assessment by February 20. Once you pass the assessment, you will be invited to a fit interview, and that's where you can inform our admissions team of the promo code, which is now flashed on the screen. Okay, take a screenshot of that, say that on your phone. You can get this, 1,000 pesos off discount to your tuition fee. Okay, so what are you waiting for? Sign up for the Cohort 11 now, as in now na. Now. Stop doing what you're doing and do it now. Before we close, we would like to thank our judges, Ben Manangu, John Inchong, Raymark Mendoza, and Bash Yumol. And we'd also like to thank our fellows as well. And of course, thank you to our audience for being a part of our first demo day of the year. We hope that tonight's capstone projects have helped you reimagine a future with data and all the possibilities that come with it. If you want to be a fellow, just like our cohort, for those interested in applying for a fellowship, I'd like to invite all of you to sign up for this cohort and for our open house coming up on January 26th. Check out the links to the chat for the sign up now. Thank you. This was your host and moderator, Val Vestil. It's now time to go out and have a Friday night and, take some shots. If you want to drink your water, this is me signing off. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye.